Hi everyone, it's my absolute pleasure today to welcome Cecilia Smith from the Pewter Box onto our Zoom call. It's so wonderful to be in the presence of greatness. And Cecilia, I must say that you are making the pewter world sit up and take notice.
Thanks.
Your talent is just incredible, and every time I see your work, it's just so inspiring, and just you really get pewter and you're pushing it to limits that I haven't seen before. So yeah, tell us a bit more about how you got into this hobby, how your love affair with pewter started.
Well, I actually started, I was bored. I didn't have anything to do. The
Right.
kids grew up. That was just before our little one was born.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I said to myself, I need something to keep myself busy with on weekends on the farm.
Right.
And so I started researching some art forms and I came across pewter.
Mm.
Didn't know what it was at all. So I did a little bit of research and found one or two videos on YouTube, and I found Mimic online.
Right.
And that's where the passion started, is with Mimic. And yeah, and then I just started from there. I bought myself a little piece that I found in a local art shop and the basic metal ball tools and the paper stumps, and
Mm.
did my first piece, and I actually threw it away. It was horrible.
I know. Oh gosh, those first
And
ones,
then,
eh? Mm.
yeah, I got so, yeah, I wasn't very inspired, so I left it.
Mhm.
And about a year after that, I said, okay, well, I'm going to try it again.
Right.
And then I bought a book from, I think it was from Sandy
Mm-hmm.
Griffiths,
Yes.
and I worked through her book. And that's how I got started. Taught myself from her book
Incredible.
and from whatever pictures or videos I could find online.
Mm. That's brilliant. It's so funny. So I think a lot of us have the same story, because initially when I started, so this was quite a while ago, pewter wasn't really a thing. I know my grandma, she did it, I think it was in the 50s and 60s. It was big in South Africa. So a lot of people did it.
Yes.
But then it's sort, like most crafts, it just sort of disappears. But thank goodness for people like Sandy and the ladies from Mimic who revived it, and for us to just have the pleasure of doing it. So how
Yes,
long have,
yeah,
sorry.
the biggest problem for me was to get the tools and the stuff locally
Yeah,
available.
yeah.
And nobody really, I couldn't find anybody locally that was doing it or
Mhm.
that was posting it online or sharing anything. So my biggest problem was, and luckily I had Facebook.
Yes.
I don't think I would be here today without Facebook.
True,
So yeah, that's
absolutely.
the
So
story behind it.
you guys are in Namibia, right? And are you guys on a farm?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. That's so cool. Because
No, I'm in the city. I'm in the
you're in the
capital.
city. Okay. Cool, because I see you've got a love for animals. I'm blown away by your big five pieces, your elephants and things. Are just
Yes.
so beautiful.
Yeah, no, I love doing my animals, but my love for animals actually comes from my days of sketching as well.
Oh,
I
right.
love sketching with just pencil sketches, and I love doing animals, mostly the big cats. So I decided to push myself, and I actually saw a lion that somebody else did. I can't remember who, in
Right.
pewter.
Wow.
And I said to myself, this is something that I need to try. So I did a lion, and I did a picture that was straight from the front,
Okay.
the angle,
Mhm.
and it was horrible. I didn't like it at all. So I said, maybe I'm pushing myself a bit too far. Let's go back a step. And then I did the elephant. And
Okay.
I absolutely loved the elephant.
Yes.
And
Gorgeous.
after the elephant, I said, okay, I'm going to do another lion.
Mhm.
But I changed the picture to a different angle, because the one, if you work with the faces from the front, it's difficult to get the nose right. So
Oh,
if
I
you just
know.
take a picture that's a bit at an angle, it's easier.
True.
So then I did the second lion, and then my husband said, okay, fine, now I'm doing the big six for him.
Oh,
I
cool.
said, okay, fine,
Challenge.
I'll do the big six. And that's how it all started. So then I did the whole big
Okay.
six at the end of the day.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm actually going to share my screen quickly and I want to show people what you've done. Just give me a second here. Let's go here. So this is the elephant that Cecilia has made. And I mean, just look at the detail. And I love your interpretation of the just the different levels, because I mean, it's quite tricky to get that right. And you've done a stellar job here. So that's the elephant. And then the other one, oh, I love this rhino of yours with the alcohol ink. So pretty.
Yeah, the rhino with the alcohol inks is one of the hardest pieces that I've done.
Okay.
Not with the pewter, but you know, covering it with all of that color.
Yeah.
Because I normally don't put color on my pieces. I normally just do patina.
I mean, this is just incredible. You've done so well.
Yeah, that piece I did for an exhibition, which actually hasn't taken place yet.
Okay.
Because of this whole COVID-19 thing. So we'll see when it goes on.
Let's have a look quick. Is my screen sharing at the moment or not? Oh, hang on. We missed that. Did you see it? It wasn't sharing, was it?
Yeah, now I can see it.
Okay, hang on. Let me just go back here quickly. That's funny. My whole screen just minimized and... Did you see the elephant, Cecilia, when I shared?
Yeah, the elephant is number 3.
Yeah, that's correct. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And so the other thing that, I mean, this mandala of yours is just taking the world by storm.
Yeah, that's one actually is one that I did in a workshop for the ladies.
Yeah.
It was our mandala workshop that I hosted in Windhoek.
Right.
And yeah, it just came out very beautifully, and everybody's mandalas came out beautiful that day. But yeah, that's my favorite mandala. It's actually on I stuck it onto my pewter toolbox.
Oh, cool.
So wherever I go, that one goes along.
Yeah, man, it's such good advertising for your craft. It's just gorgeous. So, I mean, I'm in awe about the different layers that you achieved with this piece. It just blows my mind. It's really gorgeous. And what I love about it as well is the matte finish. You didn't polish it up
Yes,
like the shiny finish. This is just gorgeous. So pretty.
That was my first piece that I've done in matte. I never really did the matte finish until I did this mandala. And I don't know why I decided to do it in matte. But the mandala actually... when I didn't fill it in the workshop, because I normally don't get to finish my own stuff in the workshop. I have all these half-finished pieces at home that I still have to finish. So I took this piece home, and then I filled it with beeswax, and I filled it too quickly. So it actually, you don't see it in a photo, but one part of the picture is actually a bit lower. One part of the pewter is lower than the other part.
Okay.
So I decided, oh, well, it's just part of it. Just make peace with it and just go with it.
That's it.
And then
yeah, some of them are just practice pieces. We just have to make peace with it. They don't always come out the way we want, so just have to roll with it.
Yeah, no, I've learned just to make peace with it and just accept it and
just move
let
on.
It go. Especially with the filling of the beeswax.
Yeah.
I've almost thrown away a couple of pieces.
So I wanted to ask you about it, because that's the only thing I use to fill my pieces with. But I've seen lately that a lot of people are complaining that the beeswax are melting. So I grew up in South Africa where we had really hot summers. I never had that problem. It's always, it's solid at room temperature. Have you found that your beeswax was getting soft in the heat, or are you using any other fillers?
My pieces are generally just hanging inside, but I've never had a problem with the wax getting soft or anything. I've actually got a piece that hangs above the fireplace in our living room, and I was worried that it's going to heat up the beeswax, but it's actually fine. The beeswax, it doesn't melt, that it falls out.
No.
So it's still hanging there. And
I wonder if it's depending on the grade of beeswax, because when we came to New Zealand, I found cosmetic grade beeswax, so the stuff that they use for creams and cosmetics and things. So I found pellets, because they melt quicker. I'm very impatient, so it needs to go quickly. So I bought the pellets, and I was wondering if it's probably dependent on the grade of beeswax that you buy, whether it'll melt at room temperature or, just high summer temperatures.
maybe,
So,
I don't know. The beeswax that I use, I import from South Africa.
okay.
And I buy them in 1 kilogram bricks.
Mm-hmm.
And then they are different colors of yellow every time I get them.
True.
So I will get a batch that is nice and an orange dark yellow.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll get another batch that is a light yellow.
Okay.
But they work. They don't seem to fall out. I'm happy. I don't think I'll ever go to another type of medium for filling.
No.
I'm too impatient to wait for it to dry.
I'm the same. So yeah, the beeswax is just really, it's effective, it's quick. And I found over the years what I use is just a plastic syringe to pull up the wax, because of the little tip. It makes it really easy to get into all those tiny little nooks and crannies, because using a dripper for me was messy, and because it hardens as soon as you pop it in, it starts hardening. So then you would get some lumpy bits. So I've just found I melt it in a glass jug, in a pot with water.
Yeah.
And then I've got a little jar with my syringes, so they get heated up as well. And I just pull it up and squirt it in, and yeah, that seems to work fine. So
now I've got a normal wax pot that the ladies use for heating up the wax, the beauty wax. So I find that works well. It keeps it at a nice temperature that's not too hot.
Okay.
And then I actually fill most of my pieces with the normal 1 millimeter glass dropper.
Okay.
I can't find a bigger one. I'm looking for a bigger one, but I can't find a bigger one.
That's why I went to the syringes.
So yeah, I just use. I've tried the other, the food grade stuff that they use for the basting and stuff, but that's also plastic, and then the beeswax just gets too cold quickly in the plastic, so it just doesn't work.
You can try, because I found the same thing. So now I pop my syringes, the plastic syringes, in a little glass jar filled with hot water inside the pot that I melt my wax in. So so that works as long as it's heated up. It doesn't set as quickly in the syringe, so that might solve your problem for bigger quantities.
Yeah, I'll give that a try. I've got a nice big one.
Cool. So how long have you been going at this? When did you start?
I started, the first piece that I did was in 2012.
Right.
And then I basically let it go, and then I picked it up again in 2013.
Okay.
And then I did a lot of small pieces, like jewelry boxes, and everybody in the family got pewter gifts.
That sounds familiar too.
For basically 2-3 years.
Yeah.
And then I got this call from our local breweries. They needed a 3D model made of the whole brewery process.
I saw those pictures.
And I said, fine. It's a challenge for me. I've never done something like that, but let's give it a try. So my husband did all the woodwork for me. He turned all the wooden pieces in the shape of the barrels and all the different equipment. And then I used about, I think, 12 square meters of pewter to cover all the models.
That's massive.
And I did a lot of, I don't think I shared a picture of that. I'll send you a picture of that.
I'd love to see.
I did a lot of copper patina on that piece. I can't remember how many pieces, but it was huge. It hangs in the MD's boardroom.
Wow.
And it's from one piece of the wall to another piece of the wall, and it's all floating from the wall with pins, and it's huge. But so that was the biggest piece that I ever did. That was my piece that got me started, basically.
Oh, wow.
So after that, I knew everything about copper patina, because I did a lot of copper patina.
Yeah.
And then I said to myself after that piece, well, now I can do anything, because I've done that and I accomplished it and I was happy with it.
Yeah.
And I just went up from there.
Started with a bang.
Yeah, started with a bang.
Amazing.
Then I did a logo for them as well, of one of our local beers that they wanted to give to somebody as a retirement gift.
Oh, wow.
And it was also very big. It was like, I think, 60 by 60 centimeters.
Yeah.
So I did the whole logo, and it's a 3D logo
Mm.
with floating pieces on top of each other. So yeah, that was my biggest challenges that I've done so far.
That's very cool. Hey,
That's
I
got me
actually signed
started.
myself up recently for an artist challenge, and I've been doing things that if someone didn't challenge me to do them, I don't think I ever would have done it. But the way that it expands you and grows you and just opens up new possibilities for our medium, it's so much fun. Hey, it's really cool. So
Yes.
I like a good challenge. So speaking of
Yeah, I need to
challenges,
challenge myself. If I don't challenge myself, I get stuck in my ways.
yeah, I'm the
So I
same.
need to, I always look for a piece that I know is going to be a bit more challenging than my previous piece.
Absolutely. I think I've got the same mindset. I actually said to a friend the other day, I think my biggest fear is a comfort zone. I've realized throughout the years, and I mean, especially these past few years after immigrating, um, it's the challenges and the trials that grow you. And if we just get stuck in a comfort zone, whether it's with our art or whatever it is, we get so complacent. I just want to keep moving forward and growing and, you know, pushing myself and see what are the limits. Are there any limits, you know? So, yeah, so that's
Yeah.
fun. So speaking of challenges, I'm looking at this beautiful clock that you've done with all the cut out work. So
That I did after, I think it was Yvonne from
yes,
Mimic.
yeah,
She did a clock like that for Mimic, or I don't know for
I've seen
who.
it. Yeah, it's
So
gorgeous.
she inspired me. That's my first piece that I did filigree work.
Wow.
I've never done filigree work before, and I was always scared of it. And then I saw her clock online on Facebook, and I said, well, that's something that I definitely need to try. So
Absolutely.
then I did that piece.
Very cool. And I mean, your lines are quite thin. Like, let me see if I can get my mouse moving. Like these ones over here. Because I know I've just cut out, I did a copper feather last night. And so there were some pieces that's curling up around the feather. I mean, they're quite tricky to cut out, but it's not
Yeah.
really on the scale of this. So if I may ask, how long did this take you?
Oh no, I can't, I don't know, but it takes a while. I would say at least an hour,
Okay.
if not more.
Yeah.
But I divide my piece into smaller pieces. So
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
I do a little piece and then I cut it and then I take it away, and then I do another little piece and I cut it and I take it away.
Yeah.
And I only do my cutting work with the dry point needle.
Yes.
I don't really work with a craft knife or a
Also,
scissor.
no.
I'll use a scissor just for the little points to neaten them up.
Okay.
But other than that, I just use this little guy. It's just a dry point needle.
That's it. Yeah. No, gosh, someone asked me about that because I only use the dry point needles in my classes as well. And someone was getting frustrated and saying, oh, this is taking too long. Could I use a pair of scissors? And I said, sure, you know, you can try it. But in my experience, trying to cut things with scissors, it always leaves like little ragged edges. You don't get the perfectly neat finish. And the
Yeah, you
craft
don't.
knives, oh my word, I can just see myself losing a finger. I'm that's way too dangerous for me. So I'm
I
much more
just find the
comfortable.
blades, they don't give me that precision that I get
No,
with a rounded tip.
that's it.
Um, but it's just a matter of practice. Once you've got a hold of it, or you know how much pressure to apply,
Yeah,
it's quick and easier to do.
that's true.
So, but it takes a while to get there. It's just practice.
Oh, absolutely. The other thing I've started doing is for the tools to glide easier for the dry point needle. I just dip it in a little bit of olive oil or just any cooking oil, and it makes it go through so much quicker. So that's something I've started doing recently, especially when I cut aluminium, because it's quite hard. So you have to go through a couple of times before you actually get there.
Yeah.
So let's
Yeah,
have a look at one of. Sorry.
I put a lot of baby oil on my pieces, so
Yeah.
it's always lubricated.
This is another piece that is just beautiful. Why is it not opening? So tell us about your fish project. Is it a tray?
It's a tray, it's a tea
Cool.
tray.
Oh, beautiful.
And I did that tea tray for a workshop as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that was our workshop that I did for the ladies, where we started doing layering work.
Oh, cool.
this was the workshops, I think, just before the mandala.
Okay.
And it was a horrible workshop.
Believe it.
What happened is we did the resin in the workshop,
Okay.
and one lady's tea tray caught on fire.
Oh, what?
So yeah, I felt so terrible about that.
Did you
But
flame
yeah,
the bubbles out and then it caught fire?
yeah, I was trying to get the bubbles out,
Oh my
and
word.
there was this one little bubble in the corner of the tea tray,
Oh,
and she really wanted to have the bubble out. So we tried one more time, and by then the resin was so warm and heated up that the fumes just caught fire.
no. Oh my
So
goodness.
yeah,
That's terrible.
so I've had my deal of a resin. I said never again until I find the correct resin,
Yes.
which is very difficult to do here.
It's a challenge. I know. I am. I put them away. I actually did a quick tutorial yesterday with making jewelry pieces with offcuts of metal and then resin on the top of it. But the resin we get here, well, the ones that I can find from the hardware store, the one part is beautiful and clear, but the other one is quite yellow. So
Yeah.
I'm just scared that eventually it'll start yellowing your pieces. So I don't know. I've got a love-hate relationship with resin at the moment. It's beautiful. I love the finish. I mean, it just makes your pewter pieces look so incredible. But it's a tricky thing.
With the resin that we get very easily locally is a resin that you have to mix with a hardener, not the two-part mixture, not the epoxy resin.
Oh, not
it's
okay.
just normal resin, and you can't put it on a painted surface. You can put it on clean wood, and then it won't lift up.
Okay.
But if you put it on a painted surface, then it starts lifting up. It doesn't want to adhere to the painted surface.
Strange.
And that's nice and cheap.
Okay.
And then we can get the epoxy resin, but it's very expensive, which is the one that you mix 50-50.
That's it.
Which is very nice to use, but it's just, you can't afford it. It just makes your pieces too expensive.
It's true.
So we're trying to import some from South Africa, but with this whole lockdown thing.
Oh gosh. Are you guys still in lockdown in Namibia?
Well, we're now basically not in lockdown as such. We're in stage 3. Our kids was actually supposed to go back to school today, but the government postponed it for another 2 weeks.
Okay.
So, but our borders are all still closed, but all the businesses are open.
Okay.
3 of our towns there's a travel ban on them because we can't, there's a lot of new cases coming out there.
Oh man.
But the rest of the country is all open.
Okay. Yeah, it's been quite the challenge, but I'm sure you had lots of time on your hand to play.
Yes, actually, when the lockdown started, I had to go up to the coast to be with the kids because we send them to our parents because I still had to work.
Okay.
And then I went up just before the lockdown, and I started a WhatsApp group for pewter.
Oh, beautiful.
To keep myself busy. And I've got I think we're about 70 members on the group now.
Oh, that is so
and
cool.
Everybody just shares, and I did a couple of videos, and but I didn't have a mic or anything to do the audio, just my phone. I just had my phone.
Yep.
I did the videos with my phone, and then I would type what I did or explain a little bit why I did something. And then I have a lot of different cultures on the group, different languages. Yeah. Then the ladies would take my messages and Google Translate, and then they will reply, and then I will do Google Translate, and then I will reply. So
that's
we
so
even
cool.
crossed the whole language barrier, and I love the group. There's such a group of creative people on there. They are inspiring to me, the way that they just grow with their pieces. Every piece that you see is, you can see how they grow. Absolutely. And I love that they share, and everybody just, comments on everybody's work, and I love my group.
It's beautiful. Hey, so it's funny you say that, because I started my business, I took it online in October of last year. But then during lockdown, changed it to a membership site. You might have seen the Love Metal membership
Yes, I
group.
have.
And it's the same thing. So we've got people from so many countries. And I'm laughing because I had the same experience. So especially with Spanish people, luckily there's a
Yes.
Spanish lady on my group. So she did some translations for interviews and things. But it's so cool. And it's exactly what you say, just the creativity and the vibe and how they encourage and inspire each other. And for me, the biggest kick is when they post their photos. And with everyone they post, you can see they've grown, they've learned something extra. That, you know, they're taking it to the next level. So, oh, it's fantastic. I just love that.
It's the boost that the ladies give each other. I don't even know
Yeah.
if there's men on there, but I think it's mostly ladies.
Yeah. We've got one guy on our
But the
group.
comments, it's like when you get a nice comment on your picture, you feel good about your work, and then you're inspired to do another piece. And I think that's what it's all about. That's what I wanted the group to be,
Absolutely.
for the ladies to inspire each other and learn from each other. And, it's nice to feel good about something that you've done.
Of course. And I think for me, what I've come to realize is there's so much power in community. And even though we all do the same craft, metal embossing or pewter work, it doesn't have to be a competition. We can just be inspired by one another and learn and grow and just have fun with it. Hey, it doesn't have to be this is my thing and that is your thing. And
exactly.
It's so beautiful to see what's happening in the group. And so we're doing these monthly challenges. And in May, we had a challenge only using offcuts because, after 15 years, I've got a box full of metal offcuts, teeny tiny bits and bigger pieces. And so I said, before I haven't...
box of as well.
Yeah. So I said, oh my word, before I haven't gone through all these offcuts, I'm not going to cut a single piece of metal. And that started with a challenge from the art group that I've signed up for during lockdown, where the challenge was to make something out of art materials you would have thrown away. So I thought, oh, okay, so, I'll just start using my offcuts. And so on the group, I asked, so, would you guys like to join me in this challenge? And it's incredible. We've seen so many just being pushed out of your comfort zone and thinking out of the box. The stuff that came out of there is just mind-boggling. I absolutely love it. So, yeah, man, it's just fun, hey?
So it's important to challenge yourself.
When you were starting out, what was your biggest challenge? Was it finding the supplies or good materials to learn from?
I had a local supplier for pewter, art shop here that imported pewter locally. And then it took me, the first batch of tools that I ordered was from Mimic.
Okay.
And then I started doing bigger pieces and bigger pieces. And I need to get a hold of more pewter, especially when I did the big brewery project.
Yeah.
So I had to start looking for a supplier that I can import myself. So I found a supplier in South Africa, which it's like a state secret. I don't talk about who it is.
No, you shouldn't.
So yeah, I've managed to find a supplier and I've built up a very nice relationship with them.
Beautiful.
So, and I import all my pewter for my students as well. And if if I import, then I tell them, listen, because I don't sell the stuff. I just import, and then I'll ask them, do anyone need pewter? Then they would say, fine, I'll take a meter or 5 meters.
Right.
Then we all throw one order in together, and then it's one transport cost. So it makes it cheaper for us.
Absolutely.
Because pewter is expensive. I mean,
it is.
Yeah, so that was the challenge. And then I love tools, even though I only use the 4 basic tools. I love having all of them. So I got a hold of the Merc Art tools.
Oh, beautiful.
And I asked the ladies as well who wanted to order. So a lot of them ordered some of the Merc Art tools, and I ordered the full set.
Oh,
I've got
that's
this
brilliant.
big bag. I actually don't know where it is. Yeah. So she's got this
that's
big bag. And it is, I just want to open it up for you. It's literally, it's full of pewter tools. So it's got all of these different
my word.
tools that you can use with all the decorative wheels and
That's
stuff.
insane.
So this was my first big set that I ordered, and I was like, I was like a little kid on a Sunday afternoon.
I can imagine.
So that was my big set
brilliant.
that I ordered. And then I did another round of pewter tools. I was looking for Teflon tools.
Yeah, yeah.
Those had very nice Teflon tools, and I loved them. But I saw this Teflon tools from a guy from Peru on Facebook.
I saw them, yes. He's incredible.
And he is. And I started, it's a bit of a language barrier, but we managed on WhatsApp to communicate.
Okay. Cool.
And I ordered a lot of tools from him. And I even got a little gift with the order.
That's so sweet.
And I was a bit scared doing the order because you never know, are you really going to get your stuff? But I did my PayPal payment, and 2 weeks later I had my tools.
Brilliant.
Brilliant service, brilliant quality tools.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So yes, I've ordered from Merc Art and I've ordered from Peru. Now I think I have enough for now.
That's the thing. I mean, I find myself going back to the same tools all the time. I've got all the bells and whistles, all the pattern rollers and the big tools and the little ones and the in-betweens. And I literally use maybe 4 of them on all my projects. Yes. And so here and there, I might add some detail, but I use the sharp tip Teflon tool for everything now. So that's a set I actually got. There was a scrapbooking store in Tauranga that closed down about a year ago, and they sold all their stuff. And they had all the colored metal sheets from 10 Second Studio, and they had a lot of sets, embossing sets and pattern wheels and all these things. But unfortunately, 10 Second Studio closed down. So, but it's a plastic handle, but it's got a really nice grip. It's a bit thicker than some of the other tools, and it's got the sharp Teflon tip. So it's just beautiful. I love working with that.
The one set that I ordered was from Walnut Hollow. So they've got this, that with the interchangeable points that you can screw off and on. Yeah. So I love this one. It's got a very sharp point, which I use almost all my projects. Yeah. And then it's got the flat skew tip one. Oh, that's so this is one of my favorites. Okay. And then my 0.5 millimeter ball tool. Mm. I do all of my pieces with a 0.5 millimeter. Okay. And it's slightly bent at the top, which is something that happened by accident. I wanted to open up something, and I grabbed this tool to open it up. Like it was a little lid that I wanted to open up, and it bent the head of the thing. And that's brilliant. And I found out that just that little bend made quite a big difference in the way that I work with it. Yeah. So I love this. And then I've got one paper stamp that I use, and then my other.
That's the one. I saw that one. I actually wanted to ask you about that. Is that the one you got from the guy in Peru, or?
No, this is one. I ordered these from South Africa, but they are originally from Russia. Oh, and I wanted to place an order from Russia, but it was eventually too much of a hassle. Okay. So I just keep ordering them from a lady from South Africa. And you get them in a couple of different points. I actually have these two from, cool. The one is just a round sharp point, but it's not as sharp as this one. So I don't really use it. Okay. So I mostly use that one. Cool. So the ones that I got from the guy in Peru, they are quite nice as well. They are made from metal. That's it. And they've got a very nice grip. It's got like a little bit of
a little indent, where your finger sort of rests. Yeah.
So your finger lies quite nicely in it. Cool. And they've got a big variety. So that has got a cup on the one side. Yeah, and it's very good quality. They've got the one set that I ordered from them is the ball and cup tool.
Oh, I love those. Oh, that's a nice size. Are they Teflon or metal?
No, they are metal.
Metal ball tips and cups. Okay, cool.
Yeah, they're metal ball tips. So yeah, I ordered a lot of tools, and they actually sent me this wooden set, as a gift. which I haven't used yet.
Oh, those
So
are
it's
nice.
I haven't used them yet. I still need to, try them. This is quite nice. They look like they can work, but I
Yeah.
haven't tested them out yet.
That's something I actually use with my students, because I want to try and make it as accessible to people as possible. That they know you can just use a bamboo skewer if you want to, and you can still emboss with it. So you don't need all the bells and whistles. I mean, it's lovely to have. Just want to get one of my big sets. So this is the one I've got from 10 Second Studio. Oh gosh. So I don't know if you can. Sorry, the sun is starting to shine in here. So it's got a couple of different pattern rollers. And then on this side, you've got your little sanding block and a burnisher. And then over there, let me just see, I've got little...
I've seen those with the black handles.
Yeah, so this is the, ooh, sorry, let me just get in camera. This is the one I use now for all my projects, because it's got this really sharp tip Teflon tool.
Yes.
And then I've got a whole different set lying behind me. But what I love is you get the paper pencil sets ranging, I think there's about 12 different sizes, which is brilliant, because sometimes the Teflon tips even, or some of the other tools are just too big to get into the grooves. And I'm always scared it'll scratch my metal. So I've bought a couple of sets of anything from the teeniest, tiniest tip of paper pencils right to the big guns. Can't actually find it. But yeah, they're fabulous.
I've got one from the guy from Peru, and it's very big. I've never seen such a big paper stump. Let me just go and get it. I need to show you this. It's huge.
I want to just reach behind me and grab one of my tools as well.
See. Oh, no, I don't have it. Where it is. It's a very huge paper stump. It's like 2 times the size that I normally.
Is it like this one?
Get. Yeah, it's a big thing.
So I think these were made. So this is 10 Second Studio ones made in Mexico. I don't know if you can see the label on there. They're fabulous, and what I like about them is some of the other ones. Gosh, I mean, look at this. It's they just unwrap. So some of them are really shoddy quality, but these ones are brilliant. And like these ones I've had for 15 years, they just last. The ones that are numbered, so this is the number 6. So if you can find the ones that are numbered, in general, they're much better quality than the ones you buy from, the Chinese stores or whatever.
The paper stump that I got from him, it had the sharp point like your normal paper stump on the one side. But what was nice, because it was so nice and thick, and I think it was very thick. It's at least as thick as this lid.
Oh, wow.
And what was nice, it had the sharp point on the one side, and it had a skew flat point on the other side.
Ooh.
And I don't know where I put it, because I moved my studio from upstairs to downstairs, so everything is a mess.
Sounds familiar. Do you ever use these round tip Teflon tools? So this is a big one.
Never.
No, same. Never. I've never used it. So I was wondering.
Also, I've never really used the straight flat ones.
No, same.
Teflon tools that are just straight and flat, I don't use it. I use the skew one.
Like this one?
Yeah, that's the ones that I use.
Okay.
And also, I've never used the one that is round and flat.
No.
Never used them.
No, I'm checking mine out, and there's a couple that literally I've never used. I've got them all, but I use 4. So I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Yeah, I can literally do my big animal pieces. I do with my 4 basic tools. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I do the same. So that's actually something I wanted to ask you about, because I've done a couple of big pieces. I've done a whole series. It was one of my friends. She had a teenage daughter, and she wanted to make like a headboard, all Paris themed. So the Eiffel Tower and all sorts of things, but they were quite big. They were about 60 centimeters wide, because that was the width of pewter I could get at that point, and roughly about 1 meter high, maybe 80 centimeters. But I remember it was quite a challenge flipping it over, because the pewter is so soft, it's quite a
Yes.
challenge. So I had it between two boards. So every time I sort of sandwiched it between boards and flipped it over, then removed the board slowly and then did my work. But it took so much time just to not let this thing buckle.
I did the one piece that I did was the two rhinos that, the two noses are touching each other.
That's it.
So that was a bit longer than 60 centimeters. And it was about, I think, 50. No, I don't think that I sent you a picture
of that one.
Yeah, I didn't. And that thing gave me nightmares of turning it over because it was so long.
Yeah.
And then when I started getting the height right from the back, then I turn it over and then I see, okay, fine, now there's a dent in it again. Then I go back and then I work and then I go back and then I work and then I have to go fill that piece with
before
Beeswax.
You can move on. Yeah.
And then I've done a leopard as well that was like lying on top of a piece of wood, like a tree stump.
Yeah.
And the one paw was over the other paw. And it was basically the highest part of this whole pewter piece.
Mm.
And I was filling it. And when I fill the big pieces, I normally put support underneath the pewter. Otherwise it bends and it pushes the whole piece down, especially when you start getting the weight of the beeswax in it.
Yeah.
So I filled that whole piece and then I turned it over and then this paw made a dent.
Oh, man.
So then I had to turn it over again. I took my heat gun and then I had to take out all of the beeswax.
Oh, wow.
And then work it with my hands again because now I can't work with the tools.
No.
And work it out with my hands again. And then turn it over to see if it's fine. Turn it back, fill it with beeswax. And I did that 3 times with that paw.
Gosh.
And I said to myself, and I said to that piece, listen, if you're not going to behave, you're going to end in the dump, in the dust.
Well, yeah.
And then the last time I filled it stuck. It held the shape of the paw. And so I've done like 2 or 3 pieces like that I literally speak to the pewter. And I say to them, now you're going to behave or you're going to end up in the dust.
Well, I'm afraid my words might not be very kind. You have the patience of a saint, it seems, because, I don't know. I don't know if I would have persevered with that.
Now, especially if it's a big piece, it's you can't throw it away. I don't.
No.
Your time and work. It's sad if you worked very hard on a piece.
I know.
And then you do the wax, and then it's just destroys it.
Yeah. And I want to backtrack a little bit about something you said a while ago about the resin and putting it over paint. So during lockdown, I did a cow with flowers that I put into a tray. And so I painted this whole thing, but I used lots of different paint techniques on it. I used glass paint and metal patina and alcohol inks and all sorts of things. The moment I started pouring my resin over, all the alcohol ink just disappeared. So, if you ever want to try that, seal it first. Make sure it's protected before putting. So that was a terrible lesson. And I mean, now it's done. I can't fix it.
Yeah.
So it's one of those lessons.
Well, I've learned my lesson with open pot of patina as well.
Oh.
I was doing a piece for somebody, and it was basically done. I was busy patinaing with a brush. And then I don't know what I did, and I pushed the pot of patina and it fell over the whole piece.
Shoot.
And it's not a piece that I can say, okay, fine, now I just patina everything black. There was copper pieces in between.
Oh.
Start all over again.
Oh. These things happen. So what would be your best advice for beginners?
I would say challenge yourself. And don't give up.
Yes, absolutely. And it's okay to make mistakes.
Yes.
Because I think we put ourselves under so much pressure, right? When when I look at your work, I'm like, okay, like I can't even do pewter. But just to keep going, not to be discouraged when someone's ahead of you. And
everybody's got their own technique. I mean, when I look at other people's stuff, I'm amazed about what they do, you know, what they get with their pieces, and especially artists like Yvonne and Lee and their creativity that they got into in their pieces, and Elijah as well.
Yes.
I mean, and Sandra, I mean, they're so creative with their pieces.
Absolutely.
That I don't, and yeah, I like doing the big cats and the animals, but it's all from a photo. So.
Oh, wow. So do you have
I
to
do a lot of
sketch them
my.
first?
Sorry?
Do you have to sketch them first? So do you basically copy?
No, it's a photo that I get online, and then I print it out big in black and white, and then I do the tracing over. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of my own designs. I do little of my own designs. I do a lot of pictures that I found on Pinterest or anywhere on the internet, print it out, modified here and there, and then just make it your own.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, because you know all these, you know Lee and Sandra or Sandy and Yvonne and all of these. Have you picked up that you can start spotting their work from a mile away? They've got their own style, and it's beautiful, isn't it? It's
it is.
I think it's when you start embracing your unique creative gift and just making the beauty your own. I think that's where the magic happens. It's not to try and copy someone else's work, but to really make something that reflects your own personal style.
Your technique, your style. I think that's something that you develop over time. And
absolutely.
You need to practice to make, to perfect your own technique.
Yeah.
That's why I would say don't give up. Just do the piece again. Do the same piece again, and then learn from your previous piece.
And I think what's beautiful about your group and my group is that people are posting their pictures, and even if they're beginners, and I mean they can possibly feel quite overwhelmed just sharing the picture, because I mean the talent in that group is just phenomenal. But I love how encouraging and inspiring people are, and sometimes giving a tip or just saying, try this next time or whatever. And we ask questions. If I don't know how someone did something, I'll be like, how did you do this? This is amazing, So the benefit of that community of creatives, and it's sort of infectious, eh? It's a happy place. It's
I beautiful. Did a live video the other day on Facebook where I did a seahorse, and I think we did it in 3 sessions on Facebook. Because I'm a night owl, so when everybody goes to sleep, I sit in front of the computer. I put some series on that plays on the background. I listen to it like a radio, and then I just go on my computer. Yeah. So I decided to do a live video of the pewter horse that I'm busy with, and I've got this one lady, Lynette. And she comes out with the best questions ever. So she usually puts me on the spot. And she, so I was busy doing the I think it was the second last video. And I work from the front up. I work basically upside down.
Okay.
And so she asked me, I must just explain how, my technique works from working from the front. And compare it to the other technique of working from the back. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, it's fine. And then we got totally off track with the seahorse. I finished the seahorse, and I did a little bit of a demonstration of how I do my technique. And I can't do the old technique anymore. I can't work from the back and then lift it up and then flatten from the front. I start working from the front. So I tried to show her how the old technique worked. Mm-hmm. And it's questions like that I enjoy, and the group also, the ladies in the group, they will also, they'll ask each other, how did you do that? And somebody will say, but, I used this, or I used this, or try this. The one lady on the group, she used this beautiful coloring on a pewter piece. And she immediately just shared what she used, it's just.
Isn't that beautiful? That generosity of spirit, it's that's incredible. I love that. So beautiful. Yeah. So I see when you're not doing pewter, you like doing cake decorations, baking, and mosaic.
Yes,
Cool.
I do. I love doing cakes with my daughter, my oldest
Oh,
daughter. Mostly cupcakes. So
mm,
whenever it's somebody's birthday, we'll bake cupcakes and we'll
beautiful.
experiment with different icings and do a little bit of fondant work. We've got all the basic tools as well, and the
Of course.
cutters.
And you can use the pewter tools too.
Yeah, so that's something that me and my oldest daughter, that's something that we share.
Mhm.
I do everybody's birthday cakes in the house, in the
Oh,
family.
beautiful.
So yeah, it's just, but that only happens when there's a birthday.
Yeah, I must say during lockdown, gosh, because we all love baking. My husband, he actually took to the kitchen like a house on fire. I didn't cook during lockdown. He was just enjoying every moment. But my son, he turned 10 last week, and he's crazy about baking. Um, so he normally likes doing the icing. I have to do the baking, and he'll do the icing. But man,
Yes.
we baked so much during lockdown. I'm like, gosh, am I going to fit into my jeans after this? We had so much cake and pancake because it rained so much in New Zealand. And so in South Africa growing up, when it rained, it was an occasion. So we baked pancakes. And when we first got to New Zealand, I realized, oh, we'll have to pull back on that tradition a little bit because we'll roll out the door.
Now the little ones enjoys when we do baking because obviously they get to eat out the icing.
Of course,
Um,
lick out the bowl.
yeah.
So cool. So how many kids have you got, Cecilia?
I've got three.
Okay, the
My
ages,
oldest daughter is 16,
right?
and then my son is now 8, and my little one is
Sweet.
4. So it's actually 4,
Beautiful.
4, 8, 16.
Oh,
So
beautiful. Yeah, you'll have your hands full.
yeah.
Oh, lovely. So yeah, I'll share where people can find you. Let me just see if there was anything else. Yeah, so I'll share all the links to where people can find you. And thank you so much for having a chat with me. I really enjoyed it.
It was very
Your work
nice.
is incredible. You're such an
Thank
inspiration,
you.
and thank you for so freely sharing your knowledge. You're a massive blessing to the beauty world. So just keep going.
Well, if I can teach anybody anything, it's an absolute pleasure. I love teaching
Yeah,
people. I've
awesome.
got my first online class on Saturday
Oh,
um,
fantastic!
on Zoom, and
Right.
um, I've got Sandra Griffiths in the class on Saturday.
Oh, there we go. Hey, I'll sign
So
up.
I'm quite
I want to do
intimidated at the
it.
moment. Yeah, we'll see how it goes
No,
because
that's
I learned from their
awesome.
books.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm on my nerves.
No, it's fabulous. And I mean, that's the thing, hey, because we can all still keep learning from each other. It's beautiful. So you rock it, and I'm going to sign up for the link. And thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And I know it's late, so I hope you have a good night's sleep tonight. And thank you so much for your time again.
Yes, you too.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cecilia.
Thanks. Bye.
Yeah.